Dear children, come on page number 70. Again we can see some important points about the subject verb agreement. There must be an agreement between the verb and the subject in terms of number and person. Already I explained you what is number and what is person. If the subject is singular in number, the verb should also be singular in number. For example, you can see here Susan is playing football. Susan is the subject, singular in number, so the singular verb is used, that is. Susan is playing football. The next point is, if the subject is plural in number, its verb should also be plural in number. If the subject is plural, the verb also should be plural in number. Let us see the example here. My parents are celebrating their golden wedding anniversary. Here parents, my parents. Parents is plural subject. So the verb are is used here. The plural form of the verb are is used here. Is, am, are, these all are the different forms of the verb be that we know. And these different forms of the verb, so we always use according to the subject. If subject is singular, we use is. If subject is plural, we use are. And if subject is I, we always use am. Next point is, the form of the verb also needs to be modified according to the person of the subject. According to the person, we should use the verb according to the number and person. We can see here examples. Sakshi is playing in the garden. Ravi and Rajat are working on a project. Shalu and I are baking a pie tomorrow. And here we can see all these verbs is and are agreeing with its subject in person and number. Let us see some more important points here to remember on page number 70. Main verbs in the simple present tense take an S or ES ending when the subject is in the third person singular. When the subject is third person singular, I told you with singular subject, when the subject is singular in number, we use S or ES form of the verb. Already I explained you with that example. The students admire her. The student admires her. So let us see one more example. He loves to paint pictures. What is the subject in this sentence? Can you recognize, dear children? Yes, he is the subject. And what is the verb? What action he is performing? Action of loving. Love is the verb. And here we can see it is singular in number. We are talking about singular subject. And what person it is? He. It is third person. Third person means it denotes the person or thing being spoken of or about. He is here. Somebody is talking about about him. He is here. It is the third person because this subject is being spoken of or about. So as it is singular in number and third person, it indicates the third person, we use S or ES form of the verb. So here we are using S, adding S with the main verb, it becomes loves. He loves to paint pictures. And dear children, if we change the subject, let's see, if they love to paint pictures. What is the subject in this sentence? They is the subject. What is the subject? They. What kind of subject it is? It is plural in number. We are talking about more than one person. Clear? They means many. They, here we can see which form of the verb is used. Here, the plural form of verb, they also remain in their base form when the subject is in plural. When the subject is plural, the verb remains in its base form. Dear children, here they is plural in number and it is third person pronoun. So the verb is used in its base form. Always remember, in simple present tense, when the subject is singular, we add s or es with the verb. And when the subject is plural in number, we do not add s or es, but we use the verb in its base form. The third point is auxiliary verbs such as be type and have possess different forms for different number and person. Be type verbs, what are they? Is, am, are, was, were. These are the be type verbs. And have, has, had. These are the different forms of have verbs. Do verbs. Do, does, did. These are the different forms of do verbs. And these all are auxiliary verbs. All these are helping verbs or the auxiliary verbs, and they possess different forms for different number and person. Dear children, here you can see on the board one table is given, and through this table you will learn different forms of auxiliary verbs. Different forms of auxiliary verbs, which form we should use in present tense and which form we should use in past tense. Now in this table we are going to discuss about the forms of be verbs. What we are going to discuss about the forms of be verbs. Pronouns, we know pronouns stand in first person, second person, third person. Personal pronouns are first person, second person and third person. Here you can see I. I is first person singular. I is first person singular pronoun, and with I in present tense we always use am, and with I in past tense we use was. You, second person pronoun is you. And dear children, we know that the pronoun you we use for singular as well as for plural both. And for both the verbs, whether it is used as singular or plural, we always use the verb are, the form of be verb, that is are with you. And in the past we use were. And the third person pronouns are she, he, it or any singular subject. She, he, it or any singular subject. We use is in present tense and was in past tense. And the same way you can see first person pronoun we. We indicates the plural number. So we use are in present and were in past tense. Second person pronoun you. When we use you to indicate the plural number, we use are in present tense and were in past tense. And the third person pronouns they or any plural subject, we use are in present and were in past tense. Dear children, let us now see the form of have verb. Different forms of have verb according to the person and number. Dear children, if the pronoun I is the first person, singular in number, we use have. With I we always use have. I and you. With these two pronouns we use have in present tense and had in the past tense. And when the subject is singular and we use the pronoun she, he, it, or any singular subject, we use has. We use has, and in the past tense we use had. Had is used for all the verbs, all the subjects, all the pronouns in past tense. And when the subject is we, that is first person plural subject, we use have with it. With you also and they or any plural subject, we use have in present tense, and with all these pronouns we, you, they and any plural subject, we use had in the past tense. Dear children, now let us see the forms of do verbs. Do is also auxiliary verbs and it is also having different forms. Let us study the different forms of do verbs. These are in first person singular in number. If we use the pronoun I or you, with both the pronouns we use do in present tense and did in past tense. When the subject is she, he, it or any singular subject, we use does in present tense and did in past tense. When the subject is we, it is first person plural in number. First person plural in number, and you is also, you is second person plural in number, and they or any plural subject is third person plural in number. We use do in present tense and did in past tense. Dear children, this table is very, very important for you. You have to learn this table thoroughly, then only you can use the correct forms of verbs according to your subject, and then only there will be a proper subject and verb agreement. If you will not learn this table properly, you will surely make grammatical mistakes. And to avoid all those grammatical mistakes, you should learn these different forms of the verbs. I hope you understood this much. Dear children, revise this chapter at home and write the definition of agreement in your copy. Thank you.